This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. It's that time of the week. It's the time where I give you my bold predictions for this week's game. And I'm going to be honest with you, anything in the positive direction that I say about this game is going to come off like a bold prediction. It is down as a lot of Browns fans have been about this game. But I'm going to continue to do my thing. I'm going to continue to do what I do and give you these Browns bold predictions for this week's game versus San Francisco 49ers, one of the best teams in football, and one of the best regular season teams in recent NFL history. You have to remember, this is a team that has not lost a regular season game in 15 contests. 15 regular season games they have won in a row. They haven't scored less than 30 since a Thursday night game in the regular season, at least last December. They are a very good football team. I don't think anybody is sleeping on that fact. We know that Kyle Shanahan has done his thing on the offensive side, and that not just Brock Purdy, but the defense, Nick Bosa and them, have done a good job on that defensive side. But it's bold prediction time. And bold predictions aren't safe predictions. I know a lot of people just put regular predictions and they throw bold on there, but that's not what bold predictions are. Bold predictions are not the easy ones to make. Bold predictions require you putting yourself out there a little bit. And if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure there'll be no shortage of people who would want to ridicule me. But that's what a bold prediction is. And my first bold prediction is that streak, either the 15 games won in a row in the regular season or the 30 point per game streak that they have. Either one of those streaks are going down, maybe both, but I don't think that those streaks both survive this weekend. I think one of them goes down, if not both. That is one of my bolder predictions. I don't think that the 49ers will score 30 points, and I do think the upset potential for the Cleveland Browns in this game is a little bit higher than what people will give it. Now, that doesn't mean that the Browns are guaranteed to walk in there. That doesn't mean that there's a 0% chance that the San Francisco 49ers blow the Cleveland Browns out. There's still a chance that that can happen, but I do think that there is a higher than normal chance for an upset this week, given all the factors. Another bold prediction is that PJ Walker is not going to be a disaster. Look, I don't know how familiar some of y'all are with PJ Walker, but if you've been a long time listener of this channel, you will know that I am very familiar with PJ Walker. I've been talking about the Browns getting PJ Walker since literally the 2020 XFL season, before the Browns even went to the playoffs. I've been big on PJ Walker. Why am I big on PJ Walker, and what is PJ Walker like as a player? Well, I think he's a lot like peak Tyrod Taylor. He throws a similar type of deep ball. He throws with a similar type of zip on his ball. He's a similar type of athlete, quick, not necessarily got the greatest long speed in the world, but real quick feet, super athletic guy, smaller guy, but able to make things happen. I think he's more in line with the Tyrod Taylor. And since that's the case, I think it's likely that PJ can walk in here and have a good game, or he can have a horrible game, right? Like, that's always on the table when your backup's playing. But I think PJ Walker will be fine in this game, and I think he'll actually look pretty decent in this game. I think PJ, whenever he's given the opportunity, he stepped up to it. You look at what he did with the Carolina Panthers. Once he got that opportunity, they had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on that roster. PJ Walker beat them both out at one point of the season and beat Tom Brady, and almost won them the game versus the Atlanta Falcons, if it's not for DJ Moore taking off his helmet and the kicker missing the extra point. So PJ really has had some moments in the NFL. His XFL tape is crazy, but again, that's XFL tape, so I'm not going to take that too seriously. But you look at the stuff he's done in the NFL, and when he's gotten these opportunities, he's somebody who, you know, more times than not answers them. in a pretty meaningful way. So PJ Walker, I wouldn't sleep on him. I don't think he's going to be the greatest quarterback in the world, but think about it more as a Tyrod Taylor, or, you know, if you really want to dig deep into the bag, like a Seneca Wallace. Like, that's where he's at. Not Brown Seneca Wallace, Seattle Seneca Wallace. The next thing is that the Browns offense will have the lowest turnovers of the season per game. The Browns offense, and their turnover specifically, has been what's killing this team. If you look at their first down numbers, if you look at their drive numbers, the Browns have been able to move the football pretty consistently no matter who's out there. The issue has been the turnovers. And that's been killing them. Look, this team has 10 turnovers in 4 games. They're lucky to be 2-2. If they just turned the ball over 6 times, they're probably 3-1 with the shot to be 4-0. This is a good football team that has shot themselves in the foot, especially offensively with those turnovers. This week, I think they'll have the lowest turnovers of the season. Speaking of a low on the season, I think Myles Garrett is going to get held to 0 sacks today. Now, not today, when the game happens on Sunday. Why do I think Myles Garrett is going to get held to sacks? Do I think that Trent Williams is going to do such a good job locking him up? No, I think the focus for the Browns is not going to be on how to get Myles Garrett loose if he has to take the majority of his snaps against Trent Williams. I think they're going to focus on some of the other guys, Obo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith, and getting those guys involved in the pass rush plan, because they know that the San Francisco 49ers will have a solid plan for Myles Garrett, one of a few teams who will. But the question is, do they have a solid plan for Zadarius? Do they have a solid plan for the interior? Do they have a solid plan for some blitz and linebackers, right? We know that they're going to focus on Myles Garrett. We know that they're going to have a decent plan for them because they have the personnel to do it. The real question is, okay, now what about everything else? And I think that everything else is going to be the important factor in this game. And that's why I think my next bold prediction, Zadarius Smith will have multiple sacks this week. I like Zadarius in his matchup this week. I think they're going to move him around quite a bit. They're going to try to move Myles around, but I think they're going to be pretty traditional with how they use him this week because they know what the matchup is. And I think that will allow more flexibility, more freedom, and more of an ability for Zadarius to clean up on some of these sack opportunities that he's been creating. He's been fantastic. The pressure numbers, the win rate have been fantastic. The sack numbers have not followed. I think that's about due, and it'll become due this week. I think the Browns offense will also score in the first quarter. And I think this is going to be the tall tale sign of if this will be a close game or if this will be a blowout. If the Browns score in the first quarter of this game, this is going to be a close game. Put it down. It will be, if this offense shows life in that first quarter, this is going to be a good game. The Browns defense will stay motivated. They will tackle well, and they will do a good job versus the San Francisco 49ers offense. If the Browns offense shows no life in the first half or quarter of this game, then it's probably going to look a lot like Baltimore, right? Because what we saw versus Baltimore was a lack of focus and a lack of tackling that only happens when you know your offense can't produce, right? That's usually what leads to what you saw against Baltimore. This week, I think it'll be different. If the Browns offense can get a first quarter touchdown, especially a touchdown, that's going to change the entire makeup of this game, and it's going to be a real close game. If that's the case, if this offense shows any life early, that will be the case. And I wouldn't sleep on this offense's ability to show life early. Look, they've been up and down all season. So we don't know what this offense is. A lot of people are telling me that it stinks, that it's this, that it's that. We've seen this offense put up good numbers against good teams. We've seen this offense put up bad numbers against bad teams. We don't know what this offense is. I think we forget that just because the bye week has happened doesn't mean that we're 9 weeks into the season. We're only 4 games into the season. So we don't know what this offense is going to be. And I think you're going to see a lot more from Elijah Moore. I think you're going to see a lot more from Donovan Peoples-Jones this week. And that's my next bold prediction, is that Moore and DPJ are going to have their best games of the season so far. I also think Amari Cooper is going to play well. If you look at what PJ Walker does well, he loves hitting these guys on these slants. He loves hitting these guys down the field. He loves slinging it, right? PJ Walker is going to give these guys a chance to go after the football football. He's going to sling this thing downfield, and he's going to let it loose for these guys offensively. And I think that these guys are going to like that, right? They've been so kind of capped in the early part of his offense, trying to learn things, trying to get the chemistry down that they haven't been able to unleash all year. And I think PJ Walker, he's going to let it fly for better or worse. Like, he's going to throw this thing deep downfield. He's going to take some shots. He's going to give guys 50-50 ball chances. He's going to let it fly. If you ever watch PJ Walker play, he lets that thing fly. And it's going to fly this week. And I think that Moore, especially, is going to benefit from that. Even Amari Cooper, a veteran like him, will be good with the backup quarterback. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, somebody just looking for him, I think would be beneficial for him as well. So I think that that's another bold prediction. My next line of bold predictions kind of goes into the general theme of today's video. This game has larger upset potential than normal. You look at how this game is sandwiched, right? When do West Coast teams tend to get upsets? Usually when they come to the East Coast, they have to play a 1 o'clock game. What is the number one determining factor in a team, an excellent football team, being upset? If you look at all the upsets that happen, it's usually when a team goes up against a defense that's better than they're expecting, right? It's usually another tall tale sign for an upset when a defense plays really, really well, because that changes the whole game. That switches things up. Now that defense gets tired, right? The 49ers have not been in a ton of 4-quarter football games this season. So who knows if they can last the full 4 quarters yet, because they're just not conditioned for that at this early part of the season. I think there are a lot of factors, and you know me, I'm not usually a guy who likes to get outside the study of football, but you look at these things and they start to add up. Now, it doesn't guarantee, again, let me make clear on what I'm saying. It doesn't guarantee anything, but if you look at some of this stuff, you go, oh, okay, I can see how something that does not feel logically probable, the Browns beating the 49ers on the at home after the 49ers and smack somebody 42-10, I can see how that logically, nobody's going to believe that that's going to happen. But if you read some of the tea leaves, I would be like, oh man, if I were betting on this game, I really would feel kind of iffy about San Francisco covering. Because you look at some of these things, and these are things that line up with upsets or closer games than you would expect, right? A really good defense. You look at Jim Schwartz's history versus Kyle Shanahan. It's intriguing, right? I think Kyle Shanahan has been held under 18 points every time he's played Jim Schwartz. And this is undoubtedly the best defense that Jim Schwartz has had in his NFL career. So I don't see a reason for that to really change. It seems like Jim Schwartz has a good grasp on what Kyle likes to do. Now, again, Kyle's evolved over the last couple of years. Jim Schwartz has been out the league for a couple of years. Maybe there's something that Kyle can adjust to that's going to completely break that domination that Jim Schwartz has had over him. But I think Jim Schwartz is somebody who hasn't been completely out the loop either. He's up to date with what teams are doing. So I don't think that that's going to be that much of a factor, but it is worth mentioning. So this defense is really, really good. Miles is going to be out there. All your key defensive players are going to be out there. This defense has a good chance to limit the game, maybe even get a turnover. We saw the only turnover that the San Francisco 49ers have had all season was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because of how they play football, the Browns are just aggressive. I think there's a chance there for this Browns team to really, cause some havoc. Also, if you look at Brock Purdy, if you look at this 49ers team, when have they looked vulnerable over the last couple of years, especially since they've added Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy? Ask yourself that question. When does this team look vulnerable? And I'm not going to include what happened in the rest of this game, because obviously once you get down to Christian McCaffrey throwing the ball, you're cooked. But look at that first part of that game they played against the Eagles, and look how much that defensive line completely disrupted everything that San Francisco liked to do. How much those corners being able to tackle well disrupted every single thing that the 49ers like to do, to the point to where they didn't look like the 49ers, the dominant 49ers team that you had seen all year. They looked a lot different once that pressure got there, and once that pressure had its effect on the game. I would not rule out the Browns' ability to do the same thing against this 49ers team. Now, again, we don't know what would have happened if that game would have lasted 4 quarters with Brock Purdy out there, because Brock Purdy is undoubtedly much better than Josh Johnson or whoever else finished that game. But that's something to note. that pressure, that defensive line pressure that the Eagles were able to get really changed how the 49ers were able to attack. I think we get into the habit of thinking that every time we play an opponent, we're going to get their best shot. But we know as fans of an NFL team, the Cleveland Browns, you don't always get a team's best shot. For whatever reason, a team doesn't play well. They're not executing perfectly. They have an off game. We know that NFL teams don't always provide you with their best shot. And if this were a simulation and we knew that the 49ers were going to give us their best shot and the Browns were going to give them the best shot, on paper, the Browns should not win this game. We know this. But that's not the reality that we live in. The reality is that there are a number of factors here that lead to the 49ers maybe not giving you their best shot. Now, it also looks like there's some factors for the Cleveland Browns that, like, even with what they got, you might not get their best shot of just what they got because you got multiple guys sitting. I understand it's not very probable that the Browns win this, but an upset is within the realm of possibility. And also I think another point I want to make is we have been stuck from the last football game the Browns have played, and especially the last football game this team has played healthy. So we're going all the way back to week 3. We have been in this bad news cycle for like 3 weeks, right? Since the Tuesday of the Ravens game, we've been in this weird bad news cycle. So much so that I think it's overinflated our negative feelings about the football team. Are there things not to feel great about? Of course. This Deshaun Watson injury, it's weird. I really want it to be over. I hope he practices next week, but I can't tell you with a straight face that I'm 100% confident that that's going to happen. Nobody can. I don't even think Deshaun can tell you if he's going to practice next week. Nobody feels confident about that. And I understand. It's not a great place to be at with your franchise quarterback. And we know Nick Chubb's not there and then guys getting banged up and everything else. But I think we have forgotten how good this defense is. We have forgotten how much we liked the pieces that we have on this offense. And we have forgotten that this is still at its core a good football team. People going around saying this team's terrible, this team's garbage. They don't know what they're talking about. This is not a bad team. And I don't mean to sound harsh, but this is just not a bad team. This is a team that's messy, absolutely messy, but not a bad football team. And I think that has been lost through the last 3 weeks of doom and gloom for reasons that I'm not going to call unreasonable for people to feel kind of like crazy about, right? It's been a crazy 3 weeks, but it's still only October. This defense is still very good. There's still a lot to like about this team. And I think if we step outside of that Browns bubble, we can start to realize what everybody else can see with this. But that's my thoughts, my bold predictions. Let me know your bold predictions down in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.